It's been just over 4.5 months since I made this paludarium and a little over 4 months since it actually became a closed paludarium, so time for an update. Let's look at the terrarium part first. The moss doesn't really seem like it came back alive. The spider plants are doing really great and have grown a bunch. The wild strawberries seem to be doing really well as well. These are all new leaves. The older original leaves have all died. The other plant that used to be here completely disappeared. There is some yellow moss growing on the moss though, so that's something. The grass that used to be here didn't make it either. As you can see here, the roots managed to grow all the way through to the false bottom. Luckily, the humidity regulation is going really well in this paludarium, so the roots hopefully won't start to rot. There's finally some action over at the elevated smaller terrarium part. It looks like there are some mosses growing, 2 different small plants and even some algae. I also saw something that maybe looks like lichen or lichen, but I'm not completely sure it is. There's even some hairy moss or algae hanging from the top glass plate. This was my attempt to create some epic images with shallow depth of field that would look like I'm a professional photographer. I failed. Let's look at the aquarium part next. As you can see, there are hundreds of aquatic isopods. Last time you saw this paludarium, I showed you that I had seen one, and that I didn't see it often. Well, that has changed. The conditions inside this closed ecosystem must have been perfect for the aquatic isopods, Acellus aquaticus, to thrive and reproduce, because there are hundreds if not thousands of them in the small aquarium part of the closed paludarium. It's just crazy. I've never seen so many of them in my life. Everywhere you look there are a bunch of them of different age and size. It's just insane. Also, you couldn't have missed that the glass isn't clear anymore, because there's a lot of algae growing on the glass. It's spring now, and as the days started to get warmer, longer and brighter, more algae started to grow. I've explained the effect of seasonal changes on ecospheres in a previous video. I'll put a link to that video in the description. I wonder if all these isopods came from one single female that was carrying eggs, or if that one isopod I saw a few months ago actually wasn't alone. It probably wasn't. Here's a little sea shrimp. It's actually relatively quite big, but we humans tend to call things we find cute small. That's not from an actual study, by the way. Well, maybe an actual study has been done about that subject, but I'm not referring to it. These are my own observations. Anyway, this is where the recording was meant to stop. But I missed the button. So here's my pants and floor out of focus. Now I meant to hit record again now, but I actually stopped recording. So that's unfortunate. Yeah, here's a bunch more isopods or whatever. Here's an isopod that decided to be alternative and different. No, I should stop anthropomorphizing. It's an aquatic isopod out of water. These black little balls are breaking my brain. There's a fun tongue twister for ya. Anyway, there's a stupid amount of these black dots covering the walls just above the water. Some of them are a bit translucent and some of those have a little dot inside of them, so they look like eggs. The thing is though, I can't think of any animal in this ecosystem that would lay eggs of this size outside of the water. The only possibility that I haven't been able to completely rule out is that these are the eggs of a tubifex who disagreed with the current water parameters. So they decided to lay their eggs outside of the water for better times. When I thought about it, I thought that it was very unlikely that this is actually the case, but now, writing it down, it just seems so far-fetched that I actually am going to rule it out. Right here, right now. So it remains a mystery to me. The emo isopod meanwhile grew out of it and decided it wasn't life-tired after all. Good for him or her. There's even some of them between the pieces of glass. And an isopod, but they are everywhere. Oh hey! It's a springtail. These things are just driving me nuts. Even if they are eggs, they've been here for a while and I haven't seen anything crawl out of them yet. Or maybe they're just feces. Anyway, here's my finger. Remember me talking about wanting to be a professional photographer / filmer? Yeah, I don't see that happening anytime soon. Here's a leech and a little tubifax worm. And a baby isopod, because the isopods are everywhere. And ooh, what's this? Oh, it's another isopod. Ooh, what's that? Oh, it's another tubifax worm. Whoops, it just did a little poopy out of its head. What's this then? Oh, it's actually a copepod. I turned the entire thing 90 degrees to get a better look at what's going on. For some reason, there's a few millimeters of glass above the dirt where there's no algae growing. It's only a few centimeters wide and on one side of the paludarium. And I think it's caused by the isopods moving the dirt away from the glass. I have no clue why it's only here though. The algae-free zone does let us have a peek at what's going on inside the aquarium, which is kind of fun. After seeing just how many isopods there are on the floor of the aquarium, I'd say there's easily 1,000 isopods in here. You can also see quite a few ostracods, copepods and tubifax worms, some of which aren't afraid to poop in front of the camera. I know I've shown you the isopods a lot by now, but I just can't get over how many there are. I turn the paludarium once more. This is the side that is always facing the window. Here's another look between two glass panels. Now there's obviously isopods here because isopods are everywhere, and also the black dots and copepods and ostracods and algae. I wonder how they got there. Here you see some adult ostracods, but if you look closely you can also see a few very tiny ones. This is a rotten leaf. These are young leaves, probably strawberry. This is an aphid, this is a springtail, and this entire wall is covered in moss and algae. Epic. I couldn't resist using the stereo microscope again, so here I filmed the leaf of the spider plant. This is magnified about 70 times. At this magnification you can actually see some cells if you look very closely. This is the setup used to film these images, with the first rainwater ecosphere as counterweight. Well, that pretty much sums up this update. If you want to see more updates and other projects and you haven't already, well, you're going to have to subscribe. Thanks for watching. There's even some of the Batcave Peter Peters.